Dear listeners, by 1991, the Hong Kong film industry had been through some shit. The once dependable martial arts genre, it was struggling through the late 70s and early 80s. It was performing poorly before reinventing itself as heroic bloodshed and quote-unquote gun fu, a la John Woo's operatic and carefully choreographed shootouts, modern-day cops and robbers stories a la Police Story, Tiger Cage, She Shoots Straight, say that 10 times fast, Wheels on Meals, and the Yes Madam, aka In the Line of Duty series, as well as genre mashups such as Mr. Vampire, Armor of God, Eastern Condors, and Millionaires Express. And throughout it all, the handover to mainland China in 1997 loomed large. Filmmakers started to try their hand in Hollywood. Sammo Hung with his own American TV show. I don't know if anyone remembers this one, but Martial Law, which ran, I believe, 2 seasons. Maybe it was only 1 season, but it was like 20-something episodes, I think. I could be faultily remembering that, but 1 to 2 seasons. He was the star. He spoke broken English only in this series, but he was the star, and they got to do some Hong Kong action in an American TV show for the very first time, so it was very, very cool. Jackie Chan with Rumble in the Bronx. Straight through to Rush Hour in 1998. Go check out our episode on Gorgeous from 1999, which chronicles that whole journey that he did. Action directors such as Yen Wu-ping, Corey Yun, directors Choi Hark and Ringo Lam, they came over with Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Even actor Jet Li, all taking their stabs as well, and in many cases during that era, successfully. But not everyone could metaphorically swim across the Atlantic and start a new career abroad. And the anxieties of local Hong Kong filmmakers began to bleed into their creative output in the early 90s. Lam Ngai-Kai, aka Lam Ngai-Choi, possibly foremost among them. Now, Lam, he began his career at Shaw Brothers, initially as a junior worker, then focus puller, then cinematographer. And for 7 years, he worked that camera, lensing films such as The Avenging Eagle, The Proud Youth, and The Drug Connection, predominantly for the cult pulp director Sun Chung. If you've never seen some of his movies, I highly recommend go check them out. And Lam was regarded as one of the best cinematographers at Shaw Brothers at that time. Now, despite encouragement from the studio, as well as from such landmark talents as Choi Hark and Sammo Hung, Lam refused to become a director until star actor Danny Lee, who was megastar a little bit later of John Woo's The Killer and Ringo Lam's City on Fire, he invited Lam to co-direct a movie called One Way Only in 1981, which became the first directorial work for both of them. Now, this was a comedy, by the way, which was not exactly what Lam would go on to do after that. But Lam's first film as solo director was the crime drama Brothers from the Walled City in 1982, which he followed with an even more refined and progressive urban thriller, Men from the Gutter, in 1983, both produced by Shaw Brothers. Even though Lam is not considered part of the Hong Kong New Wave at the turn of the 70s and into the 80s, these two films display an identical approach to the films of, say, Dennis Yu or Johnny Mac. The core difference between them and him and being that Lam was not an auteur in the classical sense, meaning he was the director and cinematographer of these films, but not the author of the script. Nevertheless, Brothers from the Walled City and Men from the Gutter, just like the contemporary New Wave films, combined popular genres with personal drama. Their characters and conflicts, they were grounded in the everyday social reality of Hong Kong at the time, and they were filmed on actual locations, not just studio sets, which tended to be the thing leading into the late 70s. Now, in 1984, Lam directed the comedy Three Stooges Go Undercover, which would basically be his last comedy that he would ever do, which was written by Wong Jing, who is also credited as the author of the original story, One Way Only, which was the only other comedy that Lam Ngai-Kai ever did. Lam's cooperation with Wong, who later became one of the most influential writers and producers in Hong Kong cinema, God of Gamblers is a great example of Wong Jing. So Lam's cooperation with Wong continued with lensing Wong's 2 directorial projects, Prince Charming in 1984 and The Flying Mr. B in 1985. In 1985, both Lam and Wong left Shaw Brothers for Golden Harvest. This is the studio where Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung now resided, where they continued their collaboration with Ghost Snatchers in 1986 and the seventh Curse, say that 10 times fast, in 1986. Both films written by Wong Jing. The first one with him in a starring role, and the second produced by him. These films marked a new direction in Lam's career. The Seventh Curse, in particular, was the first in a series of gonzo adaptations of the Wisely novels, sometimes pronounced Wesley, but they always spelled it Wisely, Wisely. Or actually, this was an adaptation of author Ni Kuang's Dr. Wen series, of which Wisely was a supporting character. Then Wisely began to star in his own novels, an insane 161 stories in 156 novels, to be exact. Almost all of them written by Ni Kuang, who also did an absurd number of scripts at both Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest. This man, I think he wrote the way he breathed. Like, it's all he seemed to do in life. It's kind of insane. So in the movie, The Seventh Curse, Chin Soo-ho plays Dr. Wen, and Chow Yun-fat plays Wisely. The film is part Indiana Jones adventure, part horror, part martial arts action spectacular, and would cement Lam as the go-to director for films heavy with mechanical and optical special effects. In 1987, Lam also directed Killer's Nocturne, an epic revenge drama set in the gambling milieu of old Shanghai and written by Manfred Wong, the latter writer and producer behind the immensely popular Young and Dangerous series. I also want to shout out Killer's Nocturne as being a movie where Chin Soo-ho, who was the lead in that one as well, he actually boxes a real kangaroo in a boxing ring. And it's a full action sequence, and Chin Soo-ho gets his ass handed to him boxing this kangaroo. It is not PETA approved, please be warned. The kangaroo does win, so there's a little bit of poetic justice in it, but it is nevertheless not PETA approved. Anyway, then in 1988, Lam paved the ground for the infamous Cat 3 or Category 3 exploitation boom with his rape and revenge movie Her Vengeance. Another milestone in his filmography is the historical erotic comedy with fantasy elements Erotic Ghost Story. In 1990, which kickstarted the whole stream of copycat erotic films with historical/fantasy settings, starting with the Sex and Zen series in 1991. It became an entire subgenre of Hong Kong cinema. At the same time, Lam directed two spectacular adaptations of Makoto Ojino's manga series Spirit Warrior. There was Peacock King in 1988, and at least partially, though he was fired partway through, the sequel, Saga of the Phoenix, in 1990, both starring Wen Bao and Gloria Yip. Now, Lam's most notorious film is the movie we're here to talk about today. His 1991 over-the-top gore fest, Riki-Oh, The Story of Riki. This movie, meticulously true to its source material. This adaptation of the violent manga Riki-Oh by Masahiko Takajo and Tetsuya Sarutari combines both the then current trends in Lam's filmography, high concept adaptations of Japanese comics, and hyper-violent exploitation films abundant with bodily fluids. And the film spotlighted the anxieties of the early 90s, foreign capitalist modalities forced upon a people, the loss of freedoms, the need to fight, violently so, to push back against such inhumanities. Even though the film later gained a huge cult status in the West, in its day, it did not do well in local cinemas. It was the first film to receive a Cat 3 rating due to violence alone. The local adult audiences, they simply shunned it. It grossed only 2.1 million Hong Kong dollars, whereas Lam's previous films for Golden Harvest all grossed around 8 to 10 million Hong Kong dollars. But Riki-Oh, where did that come from? Riki-Oh soon found its audience when it hit home video. Kids that couldn't see it in the theaters. Yet despite this late success, Lamb's last film to date was The Cat, aka The 1,000-Year Cat. Expect us to cover that one day very soon in 1992, just 1 year after Riki-Oh. This is a hallucinatory mixture of action, horror, comedy, and science fiction that was another adaptation of a Wisely story. And this one, more than any other, was fully preoccupied with the handover. The year 1997 is spoken of prominently within the film, with an alien force invading the very beings of the Hong Kong people. And as with all Lam Nai-Kai movies, the effects and the storytelling are absolutely over the top and gonzo. Sadly, after The Cat, Lam Nai-Kai disappeared from the film scene for reasons that are still undocumented and has yet to return. Even though his films are currently undergoing a significant they're very underground.
They're very underground.
But even though his films are currently undergoing a significant renaissance on Blu-ray and 4K as we speak, Riki-Oh, The Cat, The Seventh Curse, they're all coming out right now, guys. They are finding whole new generations of fans across the globe. So with that said, strap in, grab a glass of wine or your beverage of choice, and let's talk about the first film in Lam Nai-Kai's that landed with Western audiences and helped open the door to his films receiving a wider recognition that they are appreciating today.
Are you not entertained?
Yes, sir! We'll have a real good time!
He's Dave. And I'm Dallas, and this is Vintertainment. We have opinions on just about everything. Sometimes those opinions are spot on. Sometimes they go down easier with a glass of wine. This is Vintertainment, the wine and entertainment pairing podcast.
You didn't just turn off your AC, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you sure you want to?
Yeah, we'll see.
No. Don't turn it off. Don't turn it off.
Is it not fucking up the sound? Oh, yeah? Okay. All right. Hold on.
It'll be fine.
Man. For those of you guys who don't know, it is 700 degrees Kelvin here in Los Angeles today. So
yeah, I was going to start the episode off with a warning and just say, like, we're in the middle of a heat wave. You're going to hear ACs in the background. We're not in the studio. And it's just, you'll live. We would not live if we didn't have the ACIs. Exactly. You will live hearing a little hum in the background. Right. You know, suck it up. Take a little AC in the background. We're on like day 5 of 90 to 100 degree weather, and it's like we're not going without AC right now, buddy.
Sorry, guys.
So, nope.
Welcome everyone to Vintertainment. This is the podcast where we pair wine with entertainment. It's as simple as that. Do you love that idea? Then make sure to follow us and subscribe to this pod. Also, leave us a rating and review, because all of these things make it easier for others to find out about us too. No one's looking for a wine and movie pairing podcast, but if you're listening to this, you probably have to admit to yourself, it's pretty bippity boppity fucking cool, right? I added the fucking. Everyone who wants to know about...
I was trying to leave the fucking out for once. God damn it.
You can cut around it. It's got. I'll take it back. Hold on.
Co-host.
I know. You probably have to admit it's pretty bippity boppity cool. Sans fucking, right? Everyone who wants to know about us should get to know about us. So please follow, rate, and review. We deeply, deeply appreciate it to our cores. You should especially go follow us on Substack. Go to vintertainmentstudios.com, where we'll keep you all up to date on everything we've got coming, in-person wine and movie events, online events, as well as bonus wine and entertainment pairings, collabs with other writers, filmmakers, and wine peeps. We love the wine peeps. And if you ask nicely, we'll help you with your own wine and movie pairing. Just ask. We love doing this. We're super okay doing it. So much more. And many thanks to our sponsor, Curated Wine Shop. No idea where to begin finding a wine that pairs with your movie? That's okay. Almost literally no one does. That's why we started this. But Curated Wine Shop is there to help. They accept every Vintertainment-inspired challenge and will curate the selection to match your palate. Just tell them what you're trying to pair with, your budget, your preferences, and they will show you the way. Curated is a boutique wine shop on La Brea Avenue, Mid-City, Los Angeles. Founded and operated by Peeps, previously part of the entertainment ecosystem. Johnny, Kelly, Allison, and Mia, they're all fantastic. Please go meet them. Tell them we sent you. They carry an ever-changing, wide-ranging selection of small lot artisanal wines, from the known and comforting to the completely unique reds, whites, rosés, oranges, sparklings, dry wines, sweet wines, and everything in between. Trust me, their shelves are fantastic. Go check them out if you're in the LA area. And if not, find them online at Curated Wines, curated-wines.com. They do ship. That's curated-wines.com for Curated Wine Shop. And don't forget, Vintertainmentstudios.com for us, the Vintertainment Bros. And now, Dave, what's next?
Well, first off, I just want to say every time we say wine, Peeps, I really want actual wine just in time for Easter. I want wine.
I like
Peeps.
this. Hold on, I like this.
Red wine Peeps. Series,
you know what?
Like
there may
even
be
white wine, like the yellow
thing.
ones need to become like Chardonnay Peeps.
That has to be a thing already. Hold on.
It has to. It's not a thing,
Hold on.
unfortunately. But I did. I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year for Easter. I did a wine and Peeps pairing Substack post, and everyone should go check that out because there are some wines that actually do pair with Peeps.
Hold on. Sidebar here. A Google returns a search returns for Peep wines. Peeps wine is a viral homemade fermented beverage created by dissolving marshmallow peeps in water with yeast and sugar, resulting in an 11 ABV alcohol. It is
fermented Peeps.
It's a fermented Peeps. All right. So that's the thing. Someone do that. Try it for us. I'm not going to try it. Dave might.
Nope. Yep. Please experiment safely. Don't forget about the botulism in prison wine that we covered just 2 episodes ago. So be safe, but please do that. Please, someone, not us, do that and let us know how it goes.
That's right.
Ferment some Peeps.
That's
See
right.
what happens. God, I might do that.
Honestly, it sounds like an experiment I may try.
We shall see. But what's actually next for this episode, it's time for our wine trivia question of the week. Let's see how you do on this one, Mr. D.
All right.
Riki-Oh is a pretty blood-soaked movie. And in winemaking, the French have a process called saignée, or bleeding, French for bleeding. And that is Saignee, saignée. And it means bleeding. This is a process where they release a certain amount of juice in the middle of maceration on the red grape skins. And by bleeding off some of that juice, they increase the total color concentration of the final red wine that remains behind still on the red grape skins. But by doing this, they also mean to create, with that drained off juice, what? Is it A, excess grape must to add sugar and or alcohol to other wines, B, a light red for blending purposes, C, a dark rosé to stand on its own, or D, what we call Beaujolais Nouveau?
Oh, interesting.
So once again, this is the process of, in the middle of macerating a much darker, deeper red wine, the French have the saignée method where they bleed off some of the juice, which will already have some pigment in it. It'll be some kind of colored, some kind of amount of skin stuff in it, and then leave the rest behind to get even darker and more concentrated. But this part that they drain off becomes either excess grape must to add sugar and or alcohol to other wines, that's A, B, a light red for blending purposes, C, a dark rosé to stand on its own, or D, what we call Beaujolais Nouveau. And any of you who have had Beaujolais Nouveau, you know it's a very light, bright, fresh type of red.
Okay. I don't think it's Beaujolais Nouveau. I believe that's generally a Gamay, is the grape. Right?
Which is a French grape.
That's true. That's very true.
It's made in the Burgundy region. Beaujolais is part of Burgundy. Yeah.
Excess grape must. I could definitely perhaps. Yeah, okay, that's an option. Light red for blending purposes? No, that's a little... No to B, no to D. My two options are A and C. And I think
Okay.
it's to shore up a rosé. So I'm going to go with C, a dark rosé to stand on its own.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah? Fuck yeah.
Woo!
Finally.
Ha-ha. Fuck yeah, finally. Exactly. I was proud of the options I came up with.
That's
on this
actually
one.
very
None of them were too obvious of like the obvious
true.
answer or the obviously not. But yeah, not great must, because generally fermentation is already over.
Yeah.
It was before maceration was done, not fermentation, so
Yeah.
there would be no sugar left behind. It could be a light red for blending purposes,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly. Maybe some people even
I'm sure there's
do
probably
that.
someone who does that. Absolutely, for sure.
maybe, but that's not traditionally what it's for.
Yeah.
And then Beaujolais Nouveau is done by what they call carbonic maceration.
That's right.
Which is where they do not crush the grapes. They leave them completely whole,
Yeah.
put them all in a tank, all like tons of them all together. Then the weight of the grapes on top
Right.
slightly split and crush the grapes on
Right.
the bottom, and they seal this tank so it's airtight.
So it stops. Yeah.
And the split grapes on the bottom start to ferment and create carbon, which stays in this tank.
Right.
The carbon in the tank starts to make the other grapes ferment on the inside without actually needing to be crushed.
Right.
And then the alcohol, the fermentation happening on the inside of the grapes splits all the grapes. It blows them up. And then all the juice drains,
Yeah.
only taking a little bit out of the skins because you never crushed
Right.
them or macerated them on the skins.
Right.
And that's why Beaujolais Nouveau is so light in color, so few tannins.
Yeah.
You get very little tannin because it just isn't on the grape skins in the way that you need to extract tannins. So it's a very, very light-bodied wine. And then dark rosé, this is how they get a dark rosé. Light rosés like Provence
Right.
style rosés, you tend to get just by crushing the grapes, but the juice bleeds off immediately. And the only pigment you get is from the actual pressing. And you slightly squeeze a little pigment out of the skins, but it's so light. And you try to press very lightly even then to get the juice out, but then not get as little color as possible. But if you soak the juice on the skins for any amount of time, you're going to get darker. You're going to get more color. And that's where the Sangny method.
The Sangny of the bleeding. Fantastic.
The bleeding.
All right.
All right.
Good deal.
So now let's get to Riki-Oh. Dallas, I mentioned this film during our Jackie Chan's Gorgeous episode, and you didn't recognize it then. But now that you've seen it, tell me, had you ever seen this before? Because this was kind of big when I was growing up.
Yeah. So even after answering this, I remember coming across the manga, and the two had no connection in my head for some reason. I think there were just different eras or times, when I was into
so many things called Riki-Oh.
I know. Well, it's one of those things. It's sort of like, when I was 15, I was really into, comic books or, and then when I was 17, I was suddenly into films and I couldn't give a fuck about, comic books. And my brain just sort of evacuated all the coffers. But
all of a sudden I'm a cool sex machine.
Exactly. I'm a cool sex machine. Right. I'm exactly. Anyway. So no, I had never seen this film, but I was aware of its star because of the Ip Man series. And specifically his gigantic eyes. He has massive eyes. And they just take up the fucking
He has doll
screen.
eyes.
Yeah, 100%. And they are very distinct. And back in the day, one of the friends I was talking about earlier, he and I were really into the Kung Fu. Well, he was really into Kung Fu and Kung Fu adjacent films, much more than I was. But we watched The Legend of Kung Pao. If you guys remember Enter the Fist, The Legend of Kung.
Do not like that movie.
I
love the idea of the movie.
It is.
I love
so
the idea
stupid.
of the movie, but I don't find it very funny. Unfortunately,
so ridiculous.
I'm much more of a Kung Fu Hustle guy.
Oh, Kung Fu Hustle is great. Kung Fu Hustle is great. But it is sort of it's a POV thing. Clearly, the guy who made, Legend of Kung Pao, sort of he sort of has a Steven Seagal kind of POV.
Kind of. He's the guy that made all the Thumb short movies, right? With all the Thumb Star Wars and things like that. Yeah.
Anyway, and that friend always made comparisons to between the Riki-Oh film and the Legend of Kung
Kung Pao.
Pao. Yeah, but I think it just has a lot to do with that one scene where he's just screaming in the middle of the jail.
And they're both absurd in their own ways.
Absurd. Yeah.
But Riki-Oh's absurd in a way that's almost like very it's an interesting. Lam Nai Kai movies are so fascinating because they're serious yet not.
Yeah.
Yet they are.
Yeah.
They're both in equal measure. Like they know they're absurd.
Yeah.
And they're leaning into it, and yet everyone's playing it completely straight.
You know, I toiled over this a while to kind of find the right wording, but for me, it's like they take very seriously the destination in terms of the film, the narrative, where they're going.
Okay.
But they take less seriously the route to get there. And it's more sort of fun and sort of almost experimental. And so I appreciate that so much in this style of film, because they do take the destination very seriously. But the route there, just hold on, buddy. We're going to just hold on. You know, anyway, so no, I had not seen this film, but I've been aware of the original IP and had some friends who were probably much more into it than I was. But I am curious, Dave, you have mentioned this film, and you've mentioned this film before, and I'm interested in hearing about the first time you encountered this film.
I don't remember precisely my first time encountering this film. Now, like you, I had a friend who was more into this stuff than me. He was my college best friend, who you've met before. So the Buddha, the guy who was nicknamed Buddha. And like everyone just called him that. He was kind of a very jovial, larger guy, Asian guy. He was half white, half Vietnamese. And just super, but he loved martial arts films. He got me into Jackie Chan. He got me into Jet Li. We watched all the Weinstein released Hong Kong stuff, you know, back in the day, in the shitty dubs and the shitty edits and the whatnot, because it's all we had back then. And it took me a while to get into Hong Kong cinema. Now I own over 1,500 martial arts movies, folks.
Humble brag.
Die hard. I am, but just also the obsessiveness of it, right? It really, just like in wine, like there are a couple things I've gone down complete rabbit holes. Comics, Hong Kong action cinema, or action cinema, but martial arts oriented action cinema. And then Hong Kong and Asian cinema in general, even beyond just action. And wine. Those are the three things that I am just like, I've gone beyond what most people would ever be willing to find interesting or entertaining or worthwhile. But it took me a while. The first couple Jackie Chan movies I watched, or then the first Jet Li movie I watched, I didn't quite get it. I watched it and I was like, it's kind of silly. It's not very serious. There's no real drama. There's no real stakes. I don't, and the idea, like people kept telling me, it's like, yeah, but he's doing everything for real. But you know, when you grow up on Western cinema, action, you're so programmed to just understand that action is filmmaking. You're not watching ballet, right? You don't think of it that way.
You're not watching artistry in your mind.
And it's not like there weren't edits throughout the. So it's like my brain wasn't there. It wasn't actually noticing what it was seeing. And the movie that finally changed all that was First Strike, Police Story 4, aka First Strike. We saw it in the theater. This must have been maybe I hadn't seen that many. It was maybe my 5th or 6th, maybe 7th or 8th martial arts movie of Hong Kong orientation. And there was finally an action scene, and it's the one where Jackie Chan's fighting with a ladder. And there were so many unbroken moments where he's just swinging that ladder all around his body, into his head, out of his head, and then he puts the ladder upright, tries to run away, gets blocked. He runs back, and he leaps feet first between two ladder rungs, and his whole body slips through. He lands in the middle of the open ladder, gets up, and immediately people are punching through the rungs, and he just keeps fighting.
And you were hooked.
It's all right. And sort of. That was when my brain. That was the first time my brain went, "Oh fuck, I get it."
Yeah.
Like I saw it. Like finally, my brain registered what the amazing element of that was. I was like, what I just saw was like a live performance.
Yeah.
It was so
Yeah.
unbroken. And I think what takes more time for Western audiences for their brains to adjust to is some Hong Kong cinema, a lot of it even, is very heavily edited. It's just edited in a very different way,
Right.
where you're still noticing how the choreography is working. There are still stretches of unbroken moments, but the editing is half
Yeah.
the choreography. Like the action director is very on point with how they're putting it together. And that takes longer because you just see edits and you're like, it's movie magic.
Right.
I don't get it. And it takes a little extra time for your brain to quickly start catching, oh, wait, even what I'm seeing in between the edits is insane and incredible. And that these people are performing. But then that was the movie where the takes were so unbroken that I was like, wait. And then what he was doing in those unbroken takes. And then, of course, you have the outtakes during the end credits,
Right.
where you saw him fail that ladder jump over and over and over again, and all of a sudden it all came home and I understood what this was. And then slowly but surely from there I started to fall deep. I started back then to get Asian cinema.
Oh man,
you had to go to Chinatown.
That's right.
And try to find a cheap copy, but they knew what they had, and they were not always cheap, my friends. They knew who was buying it and that you didn't have any other choice. Or I would even order it sometimes through my comic shop or something like that. Or there were specialty like manga, anime, and like Asian cinema, like rental stores / mostly they were to buy, and it was like $50-$60 a DVD. And we were young. I was college age. Like we were not rich, my friends.
Yeah.
So you cherished every. Some of these movies, looking back at them, were so middle of the road, so throwaway compared to what was out there. But it was the few that we had. Now, Riki-Oh was a special one, though. It really was. It stood out, even amongst the Hong Kong crowd. It's just hyper violent, hyper bloody. The special effects and the practical effects are beautiful.
God.
They're so good. And when the movie starts, it's, and back then there was no remastered version, right? So back then this was a pretty shoddy print you're usually watching too. And the sets look kind of cheap. The sets are
100%.
kind of cheap. This was a low budget movie.
Yeah.
The sets are kind of cheap. The costumes, like everyone, like nothing is screaming that this is going to be big in any way.
That's right.
And it starts nice and slow, and everyone's overacting like an anime or like a manga, right? It's like they definitely captured the manga style
100%
in this movie. 100%.
Yeah.
So everyone's acting like a manga character, and you're like, all right, this is weird. And then when the violence hit, it's snap of the fingers fast. And it's like people's faces are falling off.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, whoa, what?
Yeah.
What?
You're like, they can do that? Oh, God.
Right. And every time it goes farther, the next scene goes farther than you think it's going to go.
I will say this. Had I seen this film when I was in my formative, when I wrote my first play, I was, I think, probably 13 years old. Had I seen this film, the aggressive manner in which I write now, like the circus, I honestly, I have no limits when it comes to the stuff I try to write. Like, it's up to the director and producer. Figure out how to fucking do this. It ain't my job. I'm just the conduit. It would just be so much more aggressive. Like this film, I can tell you right now, it would probably be the film I would tell anyone and everyone about, for the next decade, much like probably yourself. I just a sidebar, we'll get back to our flow here, but this is probably a great place to discuss this. For me, the most impactful film I'd ever seen was a martial arts film, and I cannot find the title. I don't know the title of this film. We had a Betamax player.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my dad would go to this one video store called June's Video. It was run by a husband and wife team. He was in the military. His wife from Germany came back with him. They opened a tiny little video store, and they had a martial arts section. And it was a film. The two primary antagonists were called Heaven and Earth. And I watched this film incessantly. I'm not kidding. I probably watched this film 100 times. And my brain never, not once, remembered the title. Not even a
Do
single.
you now?
No, that's my point.
Oh, okay. What and it was like a Hong Kong style.
It was a Hong Kong
or
style
Asian
food.
film?
Yeah, it was a. So I'm gonna challenge the people listening to this, which is basically just Dave at this point. Yeah, it was the two antagonists. There was heaven and earth, and they had this gorgeous battle in this glade at the end, and it was sort of, one was using wind, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just, I remember being, and I'm sure it probably doesn't hold up, but it would just blew my mind as a child.
Is it Storm Riders?
Storm Riders. Let's see.
No, that's Whispering Wind and Striding Cloud. I feel like you might have gotten a copy where maybe it was Heaven. It sounds like it's something based on a Chinese comic.
Now when I saw it, this was probably okay. Yeah, the year might be important.
They're Wind and Cloud. Okay, so not Storm Riders.
So this is probably like between 87 and 91.
87 and 91.
Maybe 86. So it may have been older.
You know, the only problem, the hard part of getting through it, there's so many movies called Heaven and Earth.
I know. That's exactly.
You have to
exactly.
get through all of that. But I wonder if it isn't, wouldn't be like the Brave Archers, like Heaven Saber, Dragon Sword, Heaven Saber, Dragon Sword. Who are the main characters? So that I'll probably cut all this out.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no.
Yeah. But I'm just like, let me see. Heaven Saber, Heaven Sword, Dragon Saber.
Oh, okay. I like this as a sort of a mystery, a wine or movie mystery, like secondary kind of 30-minute deep, exercise.
Yeah, but it sounds like a Louis Cha novel who did like the
Clan of the White Lotus. Is that or was it called Heaven and Hell? Was it called Heaven and Hell?
Okay. Well, I mean, the characters weren't Heaven and Hell in that one. But Heaven and Hell is a Chang Cheh movie, and there are it's a bonkers one.
That might. Okay. Look, guys. If you're listening to this, we may cut it all out. We're probably going to do a second little side quest at some point. Dave's going to bring a wine mystery. I'm going to bring a movie mystery, and then we'll sort of we'll do like a 30-second episode.
But maybe there is an Asian film out there with two main characters, one called Heaven
and one called Hell. Heaven and Earth or Heaven and Hell. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
We will see if we can find it out. And write in, find us on Substack.
Absolutely.
There's a way at this podcast where you can send us a message, or send us an email. If you send to vintertainmentstudios@gmail.com,
That's right.
We will get that email. You can do that as well.
That's right.
And let us know if you spot this. Leave a comment on the podcast. We should get a notification if you do that. So let us know. All right, Dallas. Let's get started on the main conversation here and Act 1.
Let's get to business. Act 1. In 2001, capitalist countries have privatized all government organizations, including prisons, which, like car parks, have become franchised institutions. That's a little timely. Super strong and durable Riki-Oh, played by Fan Shui Wong, arrives at one such prison for manslaughter. Upon arrival, he sets off the metal detector, but it's revealed that there are 5 bullets still embedded in his body. When he's asked why he didn't let the doctors remove the bullets, he responds, "They're souvenirs." The prison is divided by cardinal directions with
with that like Spanish
with
accent.
a vaguely Spanish European accent. The prison is divided by cardinal directions, with each wing having a member of the 4 heavenly kings ruling over it. Riki is placed in the north wing, where he witnesses an inmate named Wildcat disfigure an elderly inmate out of sheer spite. There's lots of spite in this act for sure. In return, Riki trips Wildcat, whose head then falls onto a board of nails, which impales his eye and partially blinds him. Wildcat then conspires with the guards to release their mentally deranged and obese inmate, Mad Dragon, to rampage and kill Riki. In the interim, the elderly inmate is then denied parole, again out of sheer spite, and commits suicide. Riki is enraged by the death, but can only punch the air in dramatic anger. The next morning... it's crazy. When I saw that scene, I was like, this one scene explains so much about Dave's personality. The next morning, Mad Dragon attacks Riki.
When Dallas shows up and he hasn't told me he's coming over yet,
Exactly.
he just sees me in the window. I'm like, railing against the
I gotta
world.
go put on my tight shirts.
Company.
Put the cat away. The next morning, Mad Dragon attacks Riki in the shower, but Riki kills him by punching straight through his stomach. That's right, punching straight through his stomach and spilling out his insides. Wildcat is able to shove a large nail through Riki's hand, which Riki slowly pulls back out before breaking Wildcat's fingers. Later that night, Riki is seen having to meditate and control his chi to keep the bullets inside him from causing further damage. He flashbacks to his youth, where he meets his uncle for the first time at the grave of his parents. His uncle announces that Riki was born strong as an ox, yet he's still not strong enough, which means we are going to get a training montage at some point. He begins to teach Riki breath control, right? He begins to teach Riki breath control to make his nearly superhuman strength, toughness, and the ability to heal. The next morning, Riki is brought to the assistant warden, played by Fan Mei Xing, the real-life father of the actor who plays Riki, a portly man with a false eye that holds mints and a double hook for a hand. The AW, assistant warden, pins Riki's hand to the desk with hooks and threatens to find and rape, yes, there is a mention of grape, his girlfriend. Riki breaks the desk in half, freeing his hand, and then pulls a killing punch just before it hits the assistant warden. For some reason, though, he walks himself back to his cell, while the assistant warden frets about what kind of demon this man might be. All right, Dave, give me some thoughts. I know you got them.
I do have thoughts. So, and this is, a rewatch for me. I haven't seen this film in a while.
Okay.
But on this rewatch, so it's always fun revisiting this one because there's so many snapshot memories a movie like this gives you with all the violence. Like I'm painstakingly laying out some of the violence in the film because when it happens, it does just kind of drop out of nowhere. And you're just like, oh, nothing was really happening until suddenly that happened.
Exactly.
And it's so absurd compared to the other things happening in the movie. Now, one shout out is that we just covered the Alabama Solution. That's right. On 2 episodes ago when we were talking about the prison industrial complex in America. And the fact that this movie, this is all about privatizing prisons and turning them into corporate franchises and how horribly treated the inmates are when we allow that to happen. So Americans, can we please get over this? Can we say this is not okay?
Otherwise, we might get a couple of Riki-Ohs and you guys will hate it.
Might get a couple of Riki-Ohs. We will create them and they will want vengeance like this Riki-Oh. Anyway, this movie, I was thinking, when it starts it seems innocuous, it seems kind of simple and straightforward. And then when the violence happens, it's surprising. It hits you kind of hard. It's a little nasty. It's a little, it's a little challenging. It's to the sensibilities. A lot of us, it takes you, even people who are used to they don't mind horror movies, they don't mind gore, they don't mind violence in film, because it just pops out of nowhere and you don't think this isn't supposed to be a horror movie or anything like that. It takes a moment, just like my brain had to adjust to Hong Kong action in the first place and what I was seeing and why that was so cool. There's a little bit to this movie where, especially if you've never seen a Ngai-Choi movie, it takes a moment. Your brain's got to be it's processing. It's what am I watching? This is interesting, but also a bit challenging. So my thoughts right there in terms of wine and beverage pairing, I was I don't know, something a little off-putting, maybe something a little challenging, something innocuous at first, but then maybe you're something a little natty, maybe something that's gonna be this I gotta be in the mood for this. And to be fair, this is a movie you for most people you gotta be in the mood
buckle in.
I love it to pieces, but I'm not always in the mood for this specific kind of movie. So But when I'm in the mood for it, it hits it so right. And that's a little bit of natty wine for me. So I was maybe even thinking something a little natty at that point. How about you, Dallas?
Okay.
How about your thoughts here?
For me, Act 1 can best be described with like one word, and that is punchy. Hint, hint. There's lots of punching through people in this film, which is fantastic. I mean, Riki is quite literally,
a lot of the violence is barehanded violence.
It's barehanded
and yet
violence.
He might as well have like a metal claw for a hand.
And honestly, I'm thinking that barehanded violence has a lot to do with the rating more than the blood. I think it's that barehanded
and the shock value
of the whole thing. Yeah,
when someone throws a fist at someone, you're not expecting
to go through their fucking
pour out.
face.
Right, exactly. And blood and gore and pieces of body to go flying, or like literally he punches someone and like two fists hit each other, and Ricky's just plows through the other person's arm, and the other arm just crumbles to pieces.
It's so
in bloody, gory chunks. It's amazing. It's amazing.
But it is. It's just punchy, ooey goodness. It is ooey gooey goodness. Act 1 sort of whets my appetite. It makes me think of the goriness in Brain Dead. What's it called? Dead Alive from.
Both, either or.
What's his?
They're AKAs.
What's his name?
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson. Thank you. Act 1 drops you into this world. It's like restrained carnage, because there is a certain restraint that the character Riki has. Right? He clearly could just demolish every wall in sight and probably every body. But there is a certain restraint. We don't know what's sort of motivating that restraint, but there is some sort of restraint. So for me, it's punchy, and there's some restraint there. When he does release the hounds on a couple of people, he does a fairly good job of kind of restraining it to just one massive punch and then moving on, making his point, moving on. So that to me makes me think of punchy. Reds, obviously. So I'm thinking maybe sort of Shiraz. Shiraz, you can get that kick of like a pepper, and some other things that can be a little jammy, maybe. So punchy restraint for me, I'm thinking of a Shiraz. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful.
Act 2.
And Act 2. And right before I do Act 2, a couple of notes on two of the main characters. So we mentioned Fan Mei Sheng, the father of the guy who plays Riki-Oh. The guy who plays Riki-Oh is Fan Su Wong. And Fan Mei Sheng, he is old school. He was in 99 films between 1964 and 1994.
That's crazy.
Starting with an early film of King Hu, that great master. He did Touch of Zen, Raining in the Mountain, The Valiant Ones, just
the Valiant Ones.
Come Drink.
Yeah.
The Valiant. Oh yes, the Valiant one. I love the Valiant Ones. And what's my Raining in the Mountain? I think is my all-time favorite of his. Legend of the Mountain. Also, what's the one? Is it Come Drink with Me? Come Drink with Me. Yes.
I don't know that.
That was one of his early ones before Touch of Zen. And Fan Mei Sheng was in a lot of those. He was in a lot of Chang Cheh movies during Shaw Brothers time, and this was his second to last film, Riki-Oh. After which he retired and became his son's manager. Going forward. Though he returned for a small part in a movie in 2018, also starring his son, called Attrition. So his total filmography finally became 100.
And the son's American film debut, I think, is Steven Seagal's Attrition from... Yeah, it is. It's
maybe of any note in like a leading role.
Yeah, it was called something else. It was also called something else, Attrition or something else, some final mission, I think, or something crazy,
something like that.
Anyway,
and Fan Su Wong, the son, I wanted to mention him because this was early on in his career. He had just done a movie called Stone Warriors, which basically got him this role because he has. It's funny. You did mention that you remembered this guy from Ip Man. Because of his eyes. I did not, the first time I saw Ip Man, I did not recognize him at all. Because he's bald.
It is like, I guess it's like 10 years later at least, right?
It's like 10 years later, but he's like completely bald, and he has so much hair in this movie. He has so much hair in this movie, and he has so much hair in most of his movies when he's younger. He's just got this beautiful head of hair. And so seeing him bald, and then he's kind of the character actor. He's beautiful in it. He's great. And then he's wearing all these baggy clothes. And in this movie, he is like shirtless the whole movie.
By the way,
they knew what they had.
No complaints. More of that. That was fantastic.
Yes. They knew what they had when they cast him, right? They're like, oh, this kid, the chest, the abs, the arms. You are not wearing clothes, sir.
Sorry,
you
buddy.
are just going to be, yes, exactly. So the difference between seeing him in Nippon, where he's suddenly wearing all these baggy clothes, he's bald, he's doing this whole character act, and he's brilliant in it. But it took me some time to put those two together and be like, holy shit, that was Fan Su Wong. But anyways, Fan Su Wong, this was early on in his career, and he was worried that this movie, the violence was going, he was like, and to be fair, he wasn't wrong initially. He was like, I don't know how audiences are going to respond to this. And he was so early on in his career, he's like, is this going to be career suicide to make this film? And ironically, or thankfully, even though this bombed at the box office, it is what made him a star going forward, because once it hit home video and all the kids got to watch it and it came over to the West, it made his career. Yeah. He is still making films regularly today that he stars in, does action choreography in. He makes like 2 or 3 a year right now. And he's still got it. Good too. He's fantastic. All right. Act 2. The next day, one of Wildcat's henchmen is cornered by Kwang, played by Philip Kwok, the legendary Venom Mob member and action choreographer of this film as well. Kwang and other inmates want justice for the henchman's regular, quote-unquote, thinking to the guards. But then the leader of the North Wing, Ahai, arrives. He tells Kwang to let it go. When Kwang doesn't, Ahai grabs a sawtooth blade and embeds it halfway into Kwang's face. Kwang is then chained to a giant cross, crucifixion style, and Ahai awaits Riki atop it. Beautiful shot when we see that, by the way, going into the car. It's so good. When Riki appears, Ahai leaps down and challenges Riki to the death. Only through trickery does Ahai get the upper hand, slicing Riki's forearm open. But Riki grabs his forearm muscles between his teeth and sews them back together, after which he makes short work of Ahai. Still, Riki holds back from killing him, so Ahai slices his own belly open, pulls out his intestines, and tries to strangle Riki with them. Riki, horrified, punches Ahai in the head, which breaks his skull into pieces, killing Ahai. Again, you can see how this movie goes. Later that day, Ahai's godson, a mute who has had his tongue cut out, hears Riki blowing a tune on a leaf, but tries and fails to do it himself because he has no tongue, the poor dear. Riki instead gives him a wooden flute/recorder, which delights the godson. But then the leaders of the other 3 wings gather and demand the godson kill Riki in revenge. When he refuses, they flay him alive and leave the corpse for Riki to find. When he does, the 3 appear and attack Riki all at once. West Wing, played by Girls with Guns genre megastar Yukari Oshima, and by the way, in this movie, they dub her over with the guy's voice. It's not her voice doing it. And then they gave her like Three Stooges Mo bowler cut. So she looks about as close to a man as she ever has, or kind of like binary, unknown type of a thing. And it's actually beautiful. When I was younger, I could not tell. I didn't know who Yukari Oshima was yet, so I didn't recognize her. And I was like, I don't know if that's a man or a woman. That is like, it's kind of great costuming, hair and costume, though. And then when they dubbed her with, and even the male voice, they did not go for a deep voice. So it's still not her voice, but you're like, I just can't tell with that one. Anyway, West Wing is played by her. He has nearly mystical kung fu. South Wing uses giant needles on strings to stab and bound his enemies. And East Wing, Tarzan, has the brute strength and size. Riki barely holds them all back, and during the melee uncovers their secret. The prison is covering up an entire opium growing operation. Riki destroys the opium, after which the assistant warden pours concrete over Riki and Tarzan, sacrificing them both to contain Riki as a threat. Though Riki moves quickly, picks up his brutish enemy Tarzan, and hauls the both of them to freedom, yet the concrete soon hardens, and Riki awakens later, trapped in a cell encased in fully hardened cement. Right. End of Act 2. Dallas, what are your thoughts at this point?
Okay, Act 2 makes it clear to me, as I said earlier, that this film takes its destination very seriously, but not necessarily the route that it takes to get there. And that ends up being a fun, darkly silly ride, you know, because it is. It's fun, it's dark, it's also silly, and it's fantastically entertaining. And you buy it. You buy this world because you're dropped into the absurdity. And once you get your sort of bearings, you're like, oh, okay, this ride is absurd. Fantastic. Let's go. For me, I enjoy seeing the sort of like margins between the hyper realistic gore and the sort of plasticine sheen, right? Like you see the cutaways, they don't hide the cutaways. You're seeing the molded plastic that vaguely looks like the source actor. You're right before the kill shot. You're like, I love that stuff. I love that.
Right.
Stuff.
They're okay with like when it
100%.
goes through their eye, something goes through their eyeball. It is plainly a plastic
100%.
face, and then the actor's just like, ah,
yeah.
And you're like, but then they shake the little plastic head to make it be like, it's like a Muppet suddenly.
Absolutely.
And you're like, this works beautifully.
Absolutely.
This is amazing.
It's amazing how that, because when you see gore or effects on stage, let's say in live theater, right, there is that, again, that sort of suspension of disbelief. And for some reason in film, I think we've gotten accustomed to this hyper realism where everything must look so photorealistic. And I think with films like this in that intermediate kind of stage, I appreciate it because I'm seeing the art. I'm seeing the craft like you were talking about earlier. I'm seeing the sort of play. I'm seeing the play, right? And I love that. I prefer a guy getting his head smashed to pieces between another man's hands to pull a slight chuckle from me rather than a gasp of disbelief. Like I like a little, oh, wow, that's crazy. That's bananas. Give me more, please. So wine-wise,
it's bananas, so it's fun, right? That's what keeps it fun.
It's the element of fun. Because if it's too hyper realistic, it's almost too much for the human animal to kind of take. It becomes.
Well, I think it's what makes anime and manga so good at tackling tough societal topics is that, like, what's happening in Riki-Oh is all very fucking serious. Yeah. It's very depressing. Yeah. It's very sad. And it is about things that are kind of real and connect to our actual cultures and our actual practices. And yet, by doing it in this way, you're just like, I'm all in. Yes. I'm going to watch this a billion times. Like through, like, oh, I can revisit this film. Yeah. You have to be in the mood for like the hyper violence, but when you are, you're just like, this is a blast and a half, even while it's tackling very heady themes.
Yeah, it is. So wine-wise, I am still thinking, I'm still in that Shiraz sort of area. It's, it's got the punch, it's got the pepper, it's got that, For me, Shiraz is one of those things that it's a little, like you were talking about earlier, Dave, there's that moment where you kind of have to like just sit with it and go, oh, okay, I'm getting lots of disparate things here, and they sort of come together. And after a moment, you're like, yes, this is exactly what I want right now. What about you?
Exactly. Yeah, for me, I think very similar to you. By the second act, it's all starting to come together. It's not challenging me as much. Like once your brain adjusts, you're like, you know what? No, this is just a blast and a half. This is a ride. And you're just along for it. You're just like, your eyeballs are kind of glued to the screen. And the bloody factor and the violence factor just keeps ratcheting up. They start coming in more a quicker fashion than in the first act. The first act, it kind of lets you gently go. Yeah. Like when it happens, it's surprising and kind of out of nowhere, but it only happens here and there. And by act 2, it's like, every scene, here we go. There's going to be something, so let's go. So I'm like, okay, something bloody. I need something. I need a wine that it's like, I want something that's got a blood note to it, that's going to have that tang, that's going to have that richness and that depth and just that just unctuousness and probably red at this point. Now, maybe you could get something bloody and a little natty. I thought maybe, but not as challenging because, again, it's starting to come together. So I'm like, maybe something that has a little funk to it, just a touch. But if it's going to be funky, just a hair, because otherwise I just want the blood, baby. Yeah. I want this to just drown me in the rich redness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I dig it. All right. Act 3, people. Keep up. The warden arrives the next morning with his horribly spoiled son in tow. When the son stumbles and falls due to his own sloppiness, a prisoner is blamed for having rolled out the red carpet incorrectly and is partially blinded. That's right, stabbed in the eye by the warden. The assistant warden then has to reveal that another prisoner, Riki, has destroyed all their opium. The warden attempts to interrogate Riki, but as soon as Riki realizes that the warden is present, he breaks out of his literal concrete shell and is interrupted. However, when Tarzan, the East Wing leader, bursts through a wall to fight Riki again. Riki brutalizes Tarzan, of course, and the warden tries to crush them both to death under the cell's hydraulic ceiling. Yes, you heard that right. Hydraulic ceiling. Though Riki holds it off in an effort to save Tarzan's life. How kind. The warden shocks them both with a taser to make them fall and stop, only for Tarzan to hold up the ceiling long enough for Riki to escape before Tarzan is crushed beneath it. The warden then orders Riki buried alive for a full week and promises him freedom if he can survive, which he manages to, of course. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a movie. Though the warden still denies him freedom and leaves him chained up in his cell. An inmate named Freddy sneaks Riki his food, but a snitch informs the assistant warden, who kills Freddy, of course, and taunts Riki with his body. Enraged, Riki breaks free, kills the snitch, and blinds the assistant warden's other eye, the one that doesn't have the mints behind it. The inmates riot and mutilate the assistant warden, whom the warden then finishes off, annoyed with his incompetence. Riki breaks off and or twists the West Wing leader's limbs to neutralize him. Sorry, that scene made me chuckle for like 10 minutes.
I bet.
With the warden dead...
This is the finale. This is the big
finale.
one.
This is the big one. With the warden dead, Riki walks outside to find... Oh, sorry, I skipped that. Hold on. Riki breaks off and or twists the West Wing leader's limbs to neutralize him, while the warden kills the South Wing leader when he tries to flee in fear. Having gone too long without his medication, the warden then transforms into a hulking creature, whom Riki barely defeats by shoving him ever so slowly and gingerly, feet first, into an awaiting meat grinder. With the warden dead, just happened to be there. With the warden dead, Riki walks outside to find the guards and inmates still fighting one another. He stops the fight by presenting them with the warden's severed head, the only bit remaining unground. He then punches the giant wall of the prison. Yes, I'm going to say that again for you. He then punches the giant wall of the prison, collapsing part of it with a single blow, barehanded, declaring, "You're all free now." He walks through the opening in the wall to freedom. Wow.
And the others cheer.
And the others cheer because they're now
Even
free.
the guards cheer.
And the guards cheer because they're free too. All right, Dave.
Right.
Wow.
And can I just say that ending, the one thing that some people have pointed to is they're like, he could have just done that all the time.
The whole time. Right. And
the whole time.
And that makes me think that was missing from, that was some carryover from the manga that they did.
No, I think that was on purpose. So
interesting.
I actually think Riki-Oh, so you were mentioning how his character is a little interesting because he's a bit tortured. Right.
Yeah.
He's a bit conflicted. There's something happening in him, and you'll notice every time he holds back often.
He does.
In
great restraint.
Instead of just like, he doesn't just walk in and be like, I can kill all of y'all, let me just do that and then break all the prisoners free. That's not what he's there to do. One, he had to bide his time until the warden got there.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Yeah.
Right?
And
then he was luring all, and he had to find the opium. He had to figure out what that operation was. He went there for that reason. I think it's kind of suggested that was something that, he's furious when he finds it, but he didn't, he's sort of like, yes, that's part of this, is I got to destroy that. I got to take this whole system, this whole prison down, and I have to end the figurehead, the guy who runs the whole thing, or he's just going to rebuild it. Right. So a lot of this, and this is what makes his character interesting and a little extra tortured, is a lot of the deaths that happen, the innocent deaths in this. Now they're all prisoners, but we don't actually know how just this criminal system
That's very
is
true.
either.
That's very true.
So it's a private prison system, and as we discussed in the Alabama Solution, when you have those incentives to just like fill up the prisons because they get money for every person that they cage. People go to things like maximum security prisons for stupid crimes that have no reason. They have no reason to be there. Not really. So this is Riki he's got some of these deaths on his conscience because he could have just stopped it all, but then he would have who's to say the warden would have showed up if
Right.
he's just sitting on a pile of rubble and everyone's gone?
The warden needs to
Right?
get there.
So
yeah.
I think that's what was going on.
All right. I like that. I like that. That makes sense. I like it.
All right.
All right.
But that does question, like, okay, Ricky, how much you're somewhat of a hero,
But also-
you had your own goals,
Yeah.
and you let these other deaths
Yeah.
happen when you could have stopped it. So there is that, I think, also happening
Exactly.
here. So for me on this, I think, I went bloody, and I thought, what are the bloodiest grapes out there? What are the bloodiest red wines I know out there? And as we mentioned earlier, I had to go back to Portugal.
All right.
I had to go straight to Portugal because, man, some of the grapes that they use in there, and of course, Portugal is most famous for port. And port is sweet, and it's fortified with extra alcohol. But if you've ever tasted a red port, not a brown port, so there's tawny port, which the whole flavor profile changes when you let it go tawny, when you let it oxidize and go brown. But if you keep it ruby, port is underneath the sweetness, there's some bloodiness, and that's one of the main grapes there is a grape called Touriga Nacional.
Oh yeah.
And it is a thick skinned, dark skinned, and I have a pure Touriga Nacional right here.
Nice.
Kelman from the Dow. So this is from the Dow. It's not the Douro, where most of the port is actually from. It's from a place just adjacent to the Douro called the Dow. DAO, and this is Kelman Touriga Nacional. This is sold in America by Diniz Cellars, DINIZ Cellars. If you go to DinizCellars.com, DINIZCellars.com, you will find this. You can, they will ship. This is a lady, Sandra Roca. I took my WSET 3 class with her. She's also a Portuguese seller here in Los Angeles. We're kind of rivals, but her wines are great, and I will happily shout them out. She's got this pure Touriga Nacional, and I like it quite a bit. It is dark. It is bold. All the dark fruits, but also it has tang. It has a nice bloody tang to it, like raw meat tang, and it does have a tiny bit of funk underneath it all too. There's this earthiness, there's this little bit of like mushroominess, this little bit of funky fungalness that you're just like, it rounds it out with a little bit of something extra. And yeah, this is a 2018 Touriga Nacional 2, so it's already got like some nice, that's going to make it like 7-ish years of age on that bad boy. 7 to 8, somewhere between 7 to 8 years of age.
I like it.
On this guy already, so it's already got it's a little more tamed, it's a little more fun, not just rough and coarse, but very bloody. The tannins are very present, but kind of silky, a little bit on the smooth side with that age happening there. And this wine is it is hand harvested and fermented in stainless steel, but then 12 months in used French oak. So that's going to keep the oak influence very light on it. Used French oak barely imparts any flavor. It's just a good place to age it and give it and kind of tame it before bottling. And then it is stabilized with only light filtration, which means some sediment, some stuff is still going to be in there as well, which might be where it gets its little bit of funkiness from, is with only that light filtration. And yeah, this is a delicious and pretty affordable. You can pretty much find this Touriga Nacional for anywhere, probably around like the $30 to $35 range for a single varietal Touriga Nacional. It is a big, bold red, and it fits, I think, everything about this crazy film and this bloody, gorgeous ride of a film. This did it for me while I was watching.
I like it.
And now, Dallas, what are your final thoughts? And I believe you also are going to Portugal on this.
No.
Oh,
no.
Oh! I heard your muttering earlier.
Oh yeah, I was, you know, I was back and forth. But so Act 3, of course, you know, it's punchy. He kicks ass. There's restraint, and as Dave said before, that restraint seems to be motivated. I have so many thoughts, but I'm going to keep it very, very tight here. I love that this film drops you into its chaos, seeming chaos, and requires you to kind of just sit in it, accept it, and move with it. If you try to outthink this film or outthink the filmmakers, or, you know, retroactively kind of try to ascribe some, you know, some tenets of good filmmaking, you're just going to come up, it's going to come up short. And that is a failure on your part. It would be. And for me, this film feels like it is jammy in a way, in a sense, because it just sits in it's gloopy. It is so gloopy in its own way. It's like it's a thing you throw against the wall and it just stays there. It just the physics don't make sense. Nothing about it. And you're just like, how is that? How is that happening? How is that working? And then within that, you get a kick of some pepper. You get a slap in the
Yeah.
throat. You know,
They just go for what's most visually
Yeah.
interesting, and then they're like, "That works.
100%.
We're not gonna." It's like, don't think too hard on it.
Yeah.
That's just it's a beautiful
It's
it's
like,
a
come to-
beautiful
Yeah.
moment, image, movement, what have you.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what this film is for me. It is clear that the filmmakers are obviously seasoned, and you know they've got some great age and artistic, you know, sort of sentiment, endeavor, and an interest, and all behind them, all the stuff. They got all the things, but it's also assaultive and gory and beautiful. You know, I keep coming back to the pepper, of course. So I, of course, went with a Shiraz. Where's my bottle? Oh, it's in the other room. God damn it. It is the 2020 Paringa Estates Peninsula Shiraz. It is wonderfully jammy, cool climate Shiraz. It's a nice subtle peppery note. It's not very heavy, which means I can down it. And like this film, I'm probably going to watch this like 5 or 6 more times in the next couple of weeks, just to just to enjoy.
And we'll do more of this director's stuff
For
because
sure.
all of them are so much fun.
For sure.
So much fun.
But it's also weirdly elegant. This film, even though it on paper you're seeing the seams, you are seeing the seams, you're seeing the work, you're seeing the seams. It's all,
but it works.
But it's also almost. It's like when you're in the hands of a great artist, they're okay, sort of jazz almost. They're okay allowing you to see the seams,
Right.
allowing you to see not necessarily the mistakes, but the architecture of what they're doing.
Right. Well, when you think about puppets and things like that, because we've already, compared this to things like puppetry, and like there's some puppetry where it's like the puppeteer is right there.
For sure.
They're not like hidden under the table or anything like that. Like sometimes you're manipulating like a large thing and like you're behind the puppet and you're like moving its arms, but you're so focused on the puppet and focusing your attention on putting it to life that the audience's attention goes to it. It stops paying attention to you because you're not paying attention to you.
Absolutely.
And that is a part of what makes this movie work. Is it's like, it's not about, can we hide the seams? Can we make it look real? Can we make it look, it's just like, focus on making the thing we have, and the thing we're putting together function as what it is. Yeah. And if we put all that attention into that the audience will simply do it with us.
So true. And they do a great job. So this it feels elegant. It's there's also this like forest floor kind of note. It's which kind of reminds me of blood. I don't necessarily enjoy the smell of blood the same way I do not like the smell of deciduous forest wet floor. I know that's very specific, but it's the same sort of reaction I have. But so 2020 Paringa Estates Peninsula Shiraz. It is lovely.
Where's it from?
You can get it's Australian. This is an Aussie wine.
Do you know where? You said it was cool or
so these guys. Oh, by the way, they have a very small collection of Shiraz grapes. It's a very small collection.
They only make so many bottles,
and they've got a great little story. And what was your question? You just asked me a question. What was it?
Where in Australia?
Yes, where in Australia? They are in South Vic. They are in southern Victoria, Red Hill, and they've got a great little winery and everything. So check them out if you're in Australia, and tell them we paired them with a crazy film. And if you're not in Australia, you can pick this up at K&L Merchants, Wine Merchants here in LA. They also ship to certain places.
Baby.
It is, you can find price point anywhere between, I think 19 and $30.
Okay.
And
nice.
So check them out, guys.
And once again, check out Ngai-Choi or Ngai-Chai's
Yeah.
filmographies. Riki-Oh is a great place to start. A lot of us in the West started with that one. It was the first one to really make it big, even though it's near the end of his filmography. If you want to do it all in chronological order, go for it. I actually haven't seen his super early comedies. I still want to. But I do know a great trilogy of films of his would probably be The Seventh Curse, followed by Riki-Oh, followed by The Cat.
Okay.
So the two Wisely movies kind of bookending in around Riki-Oh.
Yeah.
Those are his most gonzo. And then a little more gritty, but still very gonzo, are the two in between Seventh Curse and Riki-Oh, which are Killer's Nocturne, the kangaroo boxing one, and Her Vengeance. Now, Her Vengeance, there is a rape story element, so rape trigger warning on that one. Rape is mentioned once as a throwaway threat in this movie, Riki-Oh, but there is no actual rape that goes on in this movie whatsoever. But Her Vengeance is a revenge tale for that. So it very much goes to that sexploitation element. It's not as bad as a lot of those sexploitation movies, but it happens, and then it is her getting vengeance for it in that movie. And those are both also wonderful. And then someday I got to go back and see his early stuff, but we will cover more of him.
For sure, man.
Favorites.
For sure. This
Absolutely.
is fantastic.
All right, folks, go find yourself a Kelman Touriga Nacional or a Paringa Estates Peninsula Shiraz and watch some Riki-Oh, or find a beverage of your choice. You heard us talk about what might go well with it. Maybe get a port if you want to try a ruby port. I say ruby port, get the red port. Maybe try a nice natty wine, see what a natty wine does for you. Try and get a red one, because then you can get a little bloody and still have to be natty. See what that does for you. Maybe an orange one. You'll still get some nice coarseness in that. Any of that will work, but in any event, we will be back in 1 week with another wine and entertainment pairing for your vintertainment. Ciao for now. We'll catch you then.
Later, guys.
Okay, so I'm not following you. How is Mbop the sign that AI was coming? I'm missing this.
I think it is so expertly written that there's no way humans wrote it, because when it comes to earworms, it is at the top of the list. I can't think of a song that is more earwormish than fucking